Congressman. Now for a wonderful speaker, or so next speaker, represents an area of the border that has been able to deal with immigration in a way that we think is the right way to handle immigration reform. And Congressman Cuellar has been a leader on the immigration front for many years, hailing from Laredo. He's experienced immigration firsthand, and he knows both how to fix our laws to make them better, and he also knows how to make sure that we have humane laws and ones that respect the hard work of immigrant workers throughout the country. So please help me welcome Congressman Cuellar from Laredo, Texas.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that kind introduction, and I certainly want to thank my colleagues, Mark and of course Raul and the other folks that have worked so hard to pass immigration reform. But first of all, let me say something about LULAC. You know, in every society you need an entity, a group that will fight for the values and the right things. And especially in our society, in our Hispanic society, we're talking about education and civil rights. And this is what LULAC has done for so many years. And that's why we have so many good changes here in this country, is because of leaders like Madam President Moran and the other LULAC. I think we ought to give LULAC a big hand for all the work they've done for so many years on this. Let me, first of all, let me just talk quickly about the shutdown. I know we hear about immigration, but I have to say there's a shutdown. Look, we need to pass, I'm in the appropriations, and our two basic responsibilities in Congress is to pass a budget and appropriations, the appropriations on time, and pay our bills on time. Point blank, that's what we're supposed to be doing. But unfortunately, some extreme parts are using this as a leverage point to get things done. They don't like the health care. The health care law was passed by Congress. It was signed by the president. It was by the most should I say, conservative Supreme Court, declared it constitutional. There was a presidential election where in the presidential election, Mitt Romney came in and said, we're going to repeal, not replace, but we're going to repeal not the Mitt Romney law that he had in Massachusetts, but the other one that he was talking about, and he lost the election. So the democracy, the way our democracy rules is the majority decides for the democracy. In this case, they're using the shutdown as leverage. Imagine this. What would happen if we give in? The next time they're going to say, you know what? I don't like the 1965 Civil Rights Act. Why don't we go ahead and delay parts of it because I don't like that? I mean, imagine if we had a Republican president, a Democratic Congress, and we said one of these days, you know what, we're going to shut down the government unless we pass immigration reform. That might be, well, I'm not. But you know what I'm saying is we cannot use the shutdown of government to leverage somebody out. We just can't do that. We got to let the majority rule, and this is what's happened in our democracy. So again, like Raul and Mark, we're all for a clean, let's pass a budget, and then we can talk about some of the changes. I'll be the first one to say I voted for the health care law, but I'll be the first one to say there are some things that we do need to modify and change. I'll be the first one. The problem up here in Washington is you got some folks on the right saying repeal the whole thing, and some other folks on the right, on the left saying don't change one single word. They're both wrong. We need to sit down, these are the good things to work, and then modify some of the other changes. But that's a different time, a different place to do that fight. Now let's go ahead and talk about immigration reform. Listen, immigration reform is personal to me. My father and my parents, they came in from Guerrero, Tamaulipas. My father became a legal resident, then became a naturalized citizen. So I understand the way this process works. I live on the border. I understand the border. You know, I find it interesting sometimes folks from the northern part of the United States will come in and say, you know, I spend 2 hours there on the border, so I understand the border. Look, the border is a dynamic place. It is a dynamic place where people live there. And they work and they want to have the same things that we are having up here in Washington. And they want to have a legal system, an immigration system that's fair. We all want a fair system. It should have three parts. One, sensible border security, where you provide a sensible border security, number one. Number two, a guest worker plan that works, that's efficient. You know, the jobs that Americans don't want to do, and I represent a lot of the ag jobs. Anybody that doesn't want to do those jobs, give it to the Americans first, and if somebody doesn't want to do it, let somebody else that would do that job. That will help our economy. And the third thing is, of course, I mean, the second tied into that is tech, the visas itself. Why is it that we graduate so many foreign students and then we send them back to their country so they can go and compete against us? And if you look at it in Texas, about 65, over 50% of the graduate of the high-tech STEM areas are foreign students. We want our students to go there, but right now you got a lot of foreign students. Why are we going to let them go out and then compete against us? And then the third thing is, what do we do about the 11 or 12 million undocumented aliens? We're not going to close our eyes and say that doesn't exist. They're here, and we got to find a way to address the issue about the 11 or 12 million undocumented persons that we have here. So we need to have an immigration reform, number one. Number two, keep in mind, and this is why I'm so happy LULAC is doing this, the biggest enemy we have right now in immigration reform, you know what it is? It is time. It is the calendar. Syria came up, if you recall. Now we got the appropriations, the shutdown. Pretty soon we'll be talking about the debt ceiling. Something else is going to come in. When are we going to find the right time? We lost the opportunity in 2009. The 2012 elections came in. The 2010 elections came in. The 2014 elections. If we close this window right now, I'm telling you, we're not going to talk about this to 2017. This is why we got to do immigration reform, and this is why you got to make sure that LULAC keeps pushing like they've done for so many years to make sure that we do immigration reform. Finally, last point, tie it into this, because when I think about LULAC, I think about one topic, education. Education is the greatest equalizer that we have in our society, and this is why the DREAM Act and other parts are so important, so all students will get a good education, and all students will be able to move up and say, I am a productive resident citizen of this United States, and this is how we're going to make our country strong, is to make sure that everybody gets a good education, and that is why LULAC has been fighting so hard for so many years for immigration reform, for education, and now of course we're talking about immigration reform and of course civil rights. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you, Madam President. Hey, now, go Spurs. I'm sorry, I forgot to.